True or false? Patrick Stewart busted you while you showed up to the set a few hours early and you were imitating him, impersonating him.
I'm still embarrassed. So
That
I
happened.
called and I said, I would love to, since I'm flying the Enterprise, can I come to the set early my first day and just kind of like get into character and just and sit on the Enterprise? They're like, sure. How early? Like a half hour? And I'm like, no, like 3 hours. And they're like, okay, the only person who'll be there will be the janitor. And I'm like, great, that's no problem. So they got me in, and there I am, for 3 hours. I'm on the bridge, and I'm Shatner for a while, and I'm doing this. Then all of a sudden, now I'm working up a lather. I'm all like fire, and you're doing everything. It's just so
Hmm.
goofy, corny. And then I break into Jean-Luc Picard, and then I'm doing Picard on the set, number one, and I'm going off, and I'm just like frothing. And all of a sudden, I hear from about 25 feet behind, "You must be Lieutenant Hawk." And I could feel my whole face just turn bright red.
Joining me now is a terrific actor. We have enjoyed his work in the Marvel Universe as Timothy Dum Dum Dugan and also in the DC Arrowverse as Damien Dark. That is a lot of D's, I think, for one actor. His upcoming film, I don't think his character has double D's in this one. It's a post-apocalyptic drama, Homestead. A big welcome to Neal McDonough. Neal, welcome to Comic Book Central, my friend.
Thank you, Joe. Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, comic booky stuff. Like it's Comic Book Central. We're going to get to that too, but post-apocalyptic, end of the world stuff first, right? let's
That's right.
let's talk
That's right.
about that. You've got a new feature film that's coming out toward the end of the year. I think December 20th. It's called Homestead.
Yep.
Okay, what can you tell us about this post-apocalyptic? No zombies, right? I think zombies are taken care of by everything else, right?
Well, here's it. It all started with Angel Studios, and Angel Studios gives that kind of good housekeeping stamp of approval when you see one of their films, in that the whole family can go and watch and discuss the film after. That doesn't really happen anymore, Joe. There isn't really many companies that do that. I always say when I was a kid, every Sunday night, it was Lawrence Welk, and I'm watching the Wonderful World of Disney, and then would sit there, my family, and talk about the film after, talk about stuff, talk about all kinds of things. And those things, those kind of family events have kind of gone by the wayside a bit. Angel is trying to really change that and bring it back. So if you look at the films that I've been part of, or the films they've been making, The Shift was a film that it talked about dark subject matter, but it wasn't so dark that kids and grandparents couldn't watch it together. And I loved that. And for Reve and I to help produce that, and now to help produce Homestead, this talks about, okay, what happens when the world's coming to an end? What are you prepared to do, and are you actually prepared? It's not really light subject matter, but it's subject matter that's important. And it's important because these are possibilities that could happen in our lives. And how do we discuss it? Where's there a forum that we can discuss these issues? Angel Studios is that forum. And from there, now we've gone on to do this film that I wrote and produced alongside Reve, called The Last Rodeo, that the incredible John Avnet directed. We get to talk about very difficult issues. I've had to go through difficult issues in my life. Having overcome alcohol, having 9 years now being sober is pretty awesome. And I think about
Congratulations.
the 9 years before and the 9 years since, Reve and I have produced 6, 7 movies now, and Homestead being one of them that we're just so incredibly proud to be part of. That it's very humbling, Joe, to be in this spot of our careers, that we get to produce all these films that are entertaining, that give glory to him, and that people are really in the heartland of America are eating up, because they've kind of not been spoken to for years. And I'm guilty of it. I've been part of very dark films and TV shows at times, but I have to make a living too
Even
as
your
an actor.
character was named Dark. That's
Yeah, that's
like,
right. Her character named Dark. That's right. But even with Damien Dark, I
yeah.
took Damien Dark, who is incredibly dark in Arrow. And when we went to Legends of Tomorrow, I changed it and infused all of my Nealisms, the bad dad joke, the goofiness, but yet he will do anything to protect his family type of guy. And I
Right.
loved Damien Dark by the time I was all over with. And talking to the comic book world, and I want to hear what the comic fans have to say about this. Is there anyone that could actually beat Damien Dark? Here's a guy who can choke someone to death through a television. Here's a guy who can
Right.
fling someone wherever he wants. And when you think about it, he could probably fly, he could run faster, he can teleport, he can do whatever he wants. That I think there's got to be. I would love to see Damien Dark turn into a superhero. That he has a change somehow, and he becomes
Oh, like maybe an anti-hero or something like
an
that. Maybe
anti-hero.
still a little bit of that dark side, but coming in, like almost
He,
like a
he has a
Punisher
bad
or
attitude
something.
every once in a while. You don't want to mess with
Right.
him, but at the
Right.
end of the day, he's a pretty good guy that we're all counting on to get the job done to help save things or be the best guy that you can have.
He's
And
got the powers accessible there, and it's I think that's the challenge for the writers too, because they always had that problem with Superman. It
that's
was
right.
like outside of Kryptonite, how do we give him something to go up against? And so I mean, there's always that thing. So when you get somebody super powerful like that, maybe you have to go to like, what does he care about the most? Or,
That's right.
like you said, he's always going to go after his family or protect his family. So that's the Achilles heel. So for writers, my hat's off to them, because they have to come up with that stuff all the time. So,
Well,
um,
Mark Guggenheim's pretty smart. I'm sure he could figure it out.
right. Okay. So with Homestead, and so it's less about the spectacle. I think because a lot of times post-apocalyptic, we think about all these, end of the world kind of things and big spectacle and things like that too. But this one's more character driven. This is Homestead is where like is it's a, they're sort of where they're seeking security, and it's more about the character development between everybody that's involved.
Yeah, I mean, the world's rapidly falling apart for these characters. An atomic bomb just went off. People are dying. There is no food. There is no running water. There's no electricity. Well, what happens? My character is this Richard Branson-y kind of billionaire character who's kind of prepared for something like this. So he's built this homestead that he's stored away everything he could possibly want to live off the grid for a couple of years. Okay, well, the atomic bomb happens. Well, now what does he do? He's got people at the gate, friends, family. Who does he let in? Who does he share his food with? If he shares food with people outside those gates, that means he's taking food and supplies away from his immediate family. What is he prepared to do? Is he a guy that really professes to be a Christian? Is he and it's not so much just about being a Christian. This is a film about being a good and right person, whether you're Jewish or Muslim or agnostic or whatever the case is. I love how Angel Studios, and especially with the films with the McDonough Company, that were really kind of pressing the idea that we are all brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter your race or creed or color or where you're from, how much money you have. So to write to that we're all in it as a community together, that's important filmmaking. And I think the heartland of America has kind of been shunned away from getting those messages given to them. And we're doing it now. And it's a really exciting time for the McDonough Company. It's an exciting time for Reve and I to produce our sixth or seventh film we've done now together. And we start with a $350,000 film in our first film. And then the next one was a
How
million.
is that even possible? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
say that and it sounds like
it's impossible.
1970 or something,
That's craft service on one day of Mission Impossible.
exactly,
So
exactly. That's
so, and then we
right.
went to $1.5 million budget that Reve raised the money for that. Then went to
Wow.
another $2 million budget, then 2.5, and a $3 million budget, then a $5 million
Donuts
budget.
on the table now.
Right
Donuts on
now,
the table, right? Fresh
now
donuts.
the last rodeo, we got up to a $9 million budget. There's
Wow.
and not just plain donuts anymore. Those donuts have sprinkles and all kinds. We got Krispy Kreme.
Nice. Oh, the
We're
filling, the
rocking
crispy.
it out.
Oh, nice brand name was. Well, no,
So
that's good because it shows what you're doing is success and you're building off the success of your previous efforts too. So it's getting some attention. And again, these character
I've even
driven
got Reve's
stories.
coffee. I've even got Reve's coffee mug. I don't even use mine. So I
Uh,
love that. Yeah.
And I like the
Oh,
fact that your character is Ian Ross. He's not There's not double D, so you can get away from the
that's
all the
right.
D's
Exactly.
this time too. Well, you're doing something right. And this is I don't think you're going to be in the TV series, but this once the feature film premieres, then this is going to bounce into a follow-up TV series or sort of like
That I'm
or is
not
it
so
just expanded universe kind of thing, or that's all still being worked out?
that I don't know.
Okay.
Because we're producing another film and we're leaving in any week now for this amazing film called The Colonel that we're shooting down in Texas about a true life story about this 25-year veteran of the Marine Corps in the late 60s. Goes back and helps coach this school of middle school kids and how to be football players, how to be the best young men that they can be, and it's kind of like a Mr. Holland's Opus with football. And I'm
Oh,
really
wow.
and Reve and I are producing it again, and we're really fortunate and blessed to be able to do these kind of uplifting stories that are real life stories. Some of them aren't real life, but the stories that we're making talk about those issues. How can you be a better person? What can we do to give glory to him? And it's been and also make entertaining projects because you can give glory to him in projects, but if it's not entertaining, no one's going to watch it. We
Right.
want to make them entertaining so people actually watch these films and then think, how can I be a little better? How can I be like Ian Ross who got through that situation? Or, how can I be like Joe Wainwright, the lead character of The Last Rodeo? How can I overcome all these problems that I've had in my life to rise to the occasion on this specific time? And that I love that stuff. It's Rocky on a Bull with The Last Rodeo. And we're so looking forward to what Angel Studio is going to do marketing that film.
Oh, you got so much coming up. I looked at your IMDb page and it's just like in production or ready to go, and it's just like off the charts. So yeah, somebody can check it out.
Like I said, that's
And
my doing it. That's all Reve as my manager, agent, production partner, wife, mother of five, busiest woman on the planet. We get to do it together. And how awesome is that, Joe?
she keeps you working. She keeps
Yes,
you
she does.
working. That's how it goes. Okay, so Boston kid, born and raised.
That's right. Woo, go
Okay,
Sox.
well, I'm going to ask you about that in a second. Mom and dad straight out of Ireland.
That's right. Yep.
It
Yep.
doesn't get as you're about as Irish as it gets, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. So, okay.
That first
First,
generation chip on my shoulder is I'm gonna work my butt off to do the best that I can. If you give me $1, I'm giving you $2 worth of effort. Those are the things that my dad really instilled in me. Just work harder than everybody else and great
work
things.
ethic. I know the baseball is going to come in. I want to ask you about that. But comics and sci-fi growing up, were you digging, grooving on any of that, or that wasn't your
Yeah.
bag?
It wasn't, it was funny. My cousin Brendan Monahan and Liam, they had a bunch of comic books in there, and they had this little kind of this tree house that they built in the back of their place, and would sit out there and read comic books. And I was always gravitating towards Captain America. I just love
Nice.
reading Captain America comic books. Who the heck would have ever thought years later I would be in that universe? It was just, and to be part of the Marvel world. I love Dum Dum. To be a Boston knucklehead like Dum Dum is, and you
Yeah.
know, I'm 180 pounds now. It's 225 pounds of muscle and fat for
I
Dum.
was wondering because such a visual difference between Dum
Oh,
Dum and Damien. It's like, wow, how much was that costume? How much was it? So
well,
that
it's
was
funny.
all. I
You,
was
you
all
look at
Neil.
you look at the beginning of Damien, and I still had, in Arrow, I still had probably 10 pounds of extra fat on my body from just being, and it was hard to burn it off. And then
Yeah.
finally, when I gave up drinking alcohol, it was amazing how that weight just kind of dropped off mighty fast. And
It
it was
is, I had some surgery, so I was on medication, so I couldn't drink, and it's just like, oh my, that all converts to fat, doesn't it? It's
that's right.
amazing how you figure that out.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and then I look at myself now. I look healthier and thinner, and I'm much more fit now than I've been probably ever. And here I am, 58 years old, and still kicking guys' butts on television and movies. And it's awesome. It's
So if
awesome.
you do Dum Dum again, you put a extra suit on that. You won't.
Heck no, you know me. I'm a method guy. I'd be
You're
eating.
method
I
guy.
used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and pound an entire chocolate cake, or whatever, or just lift as heavy weights as I could possibly lift. And those days have changed, but who knows? I would love to revisit Dum Dum. He was one of my favorite characters I have ever played, and to play opposite Chris was just a joy. And those
Yeah.
guys, Howling Commandos. How have the Howling Commandos not had their just a series or a movie or something? It's such a led
You're
by
jumping ahead on me. I was going to build to that, but look, you're
Nick
there. You
Fury,
landed there
Dum
already.
Dum, Howling Commandos. Let's go get Godzilla.
You
Come
landed
on.
on there already. Let's talk about Dum Dum. I mean, how? Because okay. So I want you to sort of compare your experience filming Captain America, and then I'm guessing you thought that was the end of Dum Dum, and then all of a sudden, for us fanboys and girls, we just all went, "Oh wow, we got extra with
Right,
Agents of Shield and Agent Carter." So
right.
can you talk a little bit about the experiences of filming both, and why haven't we seen more?
I don't get it. I'm not exactly sure because the Howling Commandos, they're the Dirty Dozen. These guys,
Yeah.
and for Nick Fury, who
Oh
obviously
yeah.
had super serum, and then when he got shot, some of that blood went into me, and I got a smaller dosage of the super serum. So Dum Dum hasn't really aged very much in all this time. So to play along that, or even just to stay back in the 1940s and 50s, even going up to the 60s, I think would just be a great, fun atmosphere for Marvel that they haven't done. And I know fans are blue in the face saying, Neil, when are you going to do more Dum Dum? When's the Howling Commandos going to come?
Yeah.
That's a Kevin Feige question. So, pepper him. But I certainly would love to bring, we talked about Dum Dum and Nick Fury working together, and it never came to
Okay.
fruition, but it ain't over yet.
Okay, so when you're coming out of and you're coming into something like excuse me, Agents of Shield, and there's that sort of little beginning part that opens up, but then in Agent Carter, there's a full-blown adventure for one of the
Yeah.
episodes. Had they talked about that? Because I know that that show is so well loved, it was so perfectly crafted. I don't know what happened, whether the marketing or something, it just didn't get. I'm glad we got 2 seasons of it. But had they talked about like more adventures with the Howling Commandos in that format, maybe in the
Oh
TV
yeah,
universe?
yeah, yeah. We thought that
Okay.
was going to be the spot where the Howling Commandos were going to let loose.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure why it didn't happen. I'm not sure how Agent Carter ever got canceled because it was such a good show and she's
So
terrific at
good.
the character and everyone else in the show was just, it was fantastic. So, who knows? Hopefully, again, I would love to see Dum Dum come back again. And, he was a great character that I loved, loved, loved playing because he was very much me. And it was great to have that.
What's the approach that you take when you talk? Because you've done superheroes and all that in voice acting, animation, and then live action, heroes and villains, or I hate to say villain, but because the villains never think that they're the villains. But um,
Misunderstood.
what, misunderstood. What's the approach when you go to live action to bring that character to life? How do you walk that tightrope of meeting fan expectations, knowing there's, especially with Dum Dum, there's, I think at the point there was like maybe half century of history with the character. How do you approach the character of meeting fan expectations, but also making sure that you bring some of your aspects to it and what you want to bring to the character?
That's a great question, Joe. It's when you play someone like Damien Dark, he was kind of an obscure character in the DC universe. So we could do whatever we really wanted with Damien and go any like the first day of filming, I had my wedding ring on, and just before we were rolling camera, one of the ADs comes up and goes, "You need to take your." I'm like, "Why?" Because well, I don't think Damien Dark has a wife. I'm like, why wouldn't he have a wife? And I said, well, first of all, I don't take my wedding ring off. It never comes off. This stays on here. So we're gonna have to figure something out. And then Mark Guggenheim calls me a minute later and he's like, dude, that's an awesome idea. A supervillain with a wife? Why don't we name your wife in the show Reve after your own superhuman wife of your own? I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
great idea. So Damien Dark has a wife named Reve in the show. And it was really just kind of an awesome thing for Mark to allow that to happen. And that was the beginning of turning Damien Dark into kind of whatever we wanted to do. Dum Dum's different because there's a huge track record. There's tons of comic
Hmm.
books that everyone knows a Dum Dum character.
And
So,
visually too. There's a
and visually
there's a
too, yeah,
visual component.
that's right. That's why I had to gain so much weight. And
Mhm.
that mustache, Reve wouldn't come near me. She wouldn't kiss me with it. She goes, is that egg in your mustache right there? What is that?
Was that legit? That wasn't a phony fake mustache?
No, that was my mustache. Yeah, I grew that back like
Oh,
a month.
wow. That's
And
impressive. That's
she hated it.
impressive.
Absolutely hated it.
Of course
So
she did.
and then when we went back to do Agents of Cardi, obviously it was we had to create a mustache and stick it on and still drove
Okay.
they nuts. But I love that big
That's
thing.
impressive.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to play Dum Dum was you have to really kind of stick to the confines of what everyone knows, and yet infuse myself into it. But the thing about Dum Dum, he was this Boston Irish Catholic tough as nails guy that just wanted to hang out with the guys and do the right thing for America. Well, that's kind of me anyway. So I didn't have to really do much. I just made him me, and by doing so, it was kind of spot on for Dum Dum. So there wasn't a whole lot of tweaking with that because it is what it was, and it was perfect for me. So it was great casting by Kevin to give me the role of Dum Dum, and I thank Kevin Feige all the time for that.
Were you familiar with the character when you first got the role? Did you have to do a little Googling, a little digging and through the comic book lore?
Oh no, 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 no! I knew Dum Dum very, very well.
Okay. All
From
right.
reading comic books as a kid, I was like, that guy's awesome. And then when they said,
You knew him specifically.
well, it
Okay.
was it was funny when they were doing the film. I just wanted to be in Captain America so badly,
Yeah.
and my managers and agents at the time said, "No, it's all full, it's all full, it's all full." And Reve said, "Wait a minute, it doesn't look like they've cast Dum Dum yet." I'm like, "No way, no way." So Reve called over and they said, "My gosh, that's a perfect idea. Neil is Dum Dum," and I wouldn't have been Dum Dum if it weren't for Reve. And she didn't have to
Wow.
convince him very hard. They were just like, "Oh gosh, that's just obvious," and let's have Neil play Dum Dum, and it was awesome.
We always say better half, but my goodness, I mean,
Oh,
everything
yeah.
she's doing is just spectacular, and we
Yes, it is.
benefit from it as fans too. Did you flip through comics at all? Like just even for a visual look of like, how does he stand? How does he fight? Because there's that
Oh yeah.
iconic scene too where you guys are busting in with Chris Evans, and it's like it almost looks like a panel from a comic book
Oh
that
yeah.
comes out at us, and it's like, did you look through any of that, or like I'm gonna come in this direction?
No, I looked at everything with Dum Dum. I looked at how he stood in the comic books, how his chin would jut forward, how his arms would be, how he would just get tense on certain things,
Yeah.
and laughing through horribly difficult situations and enjoying having to do things that most people wouldn't have the bravery to do, and certainly some of the things that I wouldn't even possibly have the bravery to do. Dum Dum was just stupid brave, stupid. Let's go get it done. let's play a doubleheader today. Let's go out there and go, kick some Nazi butt today. And that's what was in his mind. And he enjoyed the fight and he enjoyed the pursuit of it. And I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
I never back down from certain situations. And, being a hockey player, I enjoyed fighting quite a bit. So I understand.
Okay.
I understand Dum Dum. All these teeth are fake from fights
Oh,
and pucks and so on and so forth.
wow.
Uh,
Okay, so you can channel this. The mustache is real, the teeth are fake, but it's just like
that's right, exactly. Growing up in Boston, you grew up fighting. That's what you do, and it's it's a different
I
time.
said you're hardcore Irish, but right out of
Yeah.
Boston too. So did you get any grief? Because I know you got a role of Lou Gehrig, like Yankees legend Lou Gehrig, like early on in your career. Did you get any grief from the hometown crowd?
So my first
Or were
audition,
they all just happy that you're getting acting gigs?
but I actually owe a lot to my cousin Liam Monahan back in the Cape. He read in the Cape Cod Times, and this is I just graduated from Syracuse in acting and played baseball there, and I went out to Hollywood for a few weeks. I didn't really like it, and I went back to Cape Cod. And we're sitting there, and he opens up the Cape Cod Times, and goes, Neal, they're looking for someone to play Lou Gehrig in the Babe Ruth story for NBC, and they're having an open casting call. So I flew out and I auditioned for it and I got it. And it was unbelievable to play Lou Gehrig, to go to Cleveland Municipal Stadium where we filmed it, to shoot the whole film and it was one of those magical, fantastic times for me. I just loved playing Lou Gehrig because I got to play baseball all day, every day. And Rod
Yeah.
Carew was hitting instructor, and we were working my swing for months, and it was great. So then, cut to I'd been away for 6 months. I come back to my parents owned a small mom and pop motel back in Cape Cod, and I walked into the front office of the motel, small little motel, with my 27 hat, 27 Yankees jacket, 27 Yankees jersey, knowing full well that my brothers and my dad were going to be in the kitchen. I walked
Wow.
into the kitchen. They beat me so bad. They ripped that stuff. And it was half in jest, but not really. Because my dad
Yeah.
came off the boat from Ireland. He was like, I'm a Red Sox fan. And he watched every Red Sox game. Didn't know my dad to never watch a game.
Yeah.
Something had to have happened where he wasn't watching the game that day. So when I wore that stuff into his kitchen, he was like, I don't care if you're an actor now. I don't care. You do not wear that stuff into this house.
Yeah.
They took all the stuff, they threw it out the window and shoved a Red Sox hat on my head. And then they were like, welcome,
Wow.
Philly! And we have Yankees toilet paper in our house. That's how hardcore Red Sox fans we are. So,
No,
yeah,
I get it. I'm a Steelers fan, and I have friends that are Bengals and Browns fans and Ravens fans. It's just like you get those rivalry, and that's why I was curious. But like, how did that? So that Hollywood had to stay in Hollywood, and East Coast
that's
stays in the
right.
East Coast.
They were like, can you please do a
That's
movie about a Red Sox guy? Can you play Kari Yastrzemski? Can you do something? You have to play Lou Gehrig, the ultimate Yankee.
right. Well,
So
it
I
was
did
in
that.
Babe Ruth, so it's like you could have played Bay. I mean, I guess because he
That's right.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
Red Sox
Yeah.
at one time. Yeah, so you could have played that version of it. I want to close out with a little bit more on Damien. You had mentioned, first of all, did you tell Mel that you actually played? I think you voiced
Yeah.
Green Arrow. I think you
Yeah.
voiced him in anime. Did you ever tell Mel that?
Oh, I tell him I was much better Oliver Queen than he was. Oh, I tell him that all
Yes.
the time. I mean, I'm like, dude,
Yes.
I mean, you're scratching at it and you're doing a fine job. Fine job. But let's face it, I'm the real Oliver Queen. I mean, it was just, it wasn't even close.
We
I
always wonder about that as fans. It's like, do they, because we know this nerd stuff, but
I
like,
remember
do they
one
talk
scene he
about it
said
on it?
something. I said, "Cut." I don't think I would say it like that, Stephen. I think you'd say it like this. And we just had at it with each other. I love Stephen Amell like a little brother, and we
Wow.
had a great time doing that show. And I will always look back and smile when I think of Stephen Amell and Arrow. It was one of those really terrific times.
It's such a great show, and you obviously take over season four. But what challenges did you have as an actor coming from like season four and then going to Legends? And you alluded to that earlier that it was a much different approach to the character, still the same character, but then and you get all these timelines and you get all these different versions eventually on the Flash. And like, what challenges did you face as an actor? Just can because I know like Gwyneth Paltrow would forget what Marvel movie she was in sometimes. Like, did you go to like, okay, what? Where am I? What city am I in? Did any of that come up? And like, what characters am I interacting with?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. When we moved to Vancouver to do Arrow, we moved there for 6 months, thinking we'll just stay there for 6 months. We brought the whole family and put them in the schools up there. And after 6 months, we fell in love with Vancouver. So Reve and I were thinking, okay, what are we gonna do next? Because I think this might be just a one season now. We need to find another job up here to stay up here. And then Mark Guggenheim called and he goes, I have good news and bad news for you. I'm like, oh, okay, give me the bad news. You're dying in the last episode of Arrow. And I was like, oh. Okay, what's the good news? Because we're bringing you back in Legends of Tomorrow. I'm like, how? Because we'll figure it out. And he goes, but I want to infuse more Nealisms into to Damien
Oh,
Dark. So we kind of worked on making
okay.
him lighter, funnier, bad dad joke telling, goofy super villain, which was so much more enjoyable for me. I loved working with Steve, and I loved the Arrow, but there was something about Legends of Tomorrow, and of course with Flash to work opposite Grant. We had so much fun in that setting. I loved it, and I'm so fortunate that Mark Guggenheim brought us back for all those years, several seasons on that, so we could stay up in Canada for A, but for B to jump into a really great character and really make him come alive.
Yeah, and when you get that longevity with the character too, you get to dig into all those nuances that you don't get in
Oh
like in a
yeah.
feature film or something like that too. I know we're gonna get you out of there. I know you got a few minutes left here. I'm gonna hit some quick hits. Playing Bruce Banner in the Hulk. I mean, look at this cast. Lou Ferrigno's the Hulk in the animated version. Jeannie Francis, the great Jeannie Francis, is Betty. John Vernon, Mark Hamill, Luke Perry. Oh my goodness, Luke Perry. I mean, did you
Luke.
get to record that as like a radio play in with everybody else, or was it all isolated? And how much fun was that?
Every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. would hit the booth, and there was everyone. And Lou would stand right
Wow.
next to me because I'd go from Bruce, and then all of a sudden, then he'd take over. And to be up, Lou Ferrigno is one of the kindest, gentlest, sweetest guys on the planet. And I remember I was doing Star Trek First Contact, and I had about 2 months to get ready for it. And I said, Lou, how do I get bigger? And he goes, well, just lift weights all the time. It's steak and eggs, steak and eggs, steak and eggs. So I used to go to Norm's in Hollywood and just that, the $6.99 steak and eggs. I do that twice a day and
Wow.
lift. And he was kind of a mentor to me for a while when we were doing that. And I love Lou, and he's just an awesome dude. They're really awesome. And but everyone, that it was a great cast, and we're all there every week doing it
Yeah.
together. The late great John Vernon, boy, what an immense
Mm.
talent he was, and everyone, and that's how I really got into Hollywood by doing voiceover work through I mean, tons and tons of different cartoons that I was part of. So it was great.
Great series. Star Trek First Contact, you mentioned it. True or false? Patrick Stewart busted you while you showed up to the set a few hours early and you were imitating him, impersonating him.
I'm still embarrassed. So
That
I
happened?
called and I said, I would love to, since I'm flying the Enterprise, can I come to the set early my first day and just kind of like get into character and sit on the Enterprise? They're like, sure. How early? Like a half hour? And I'm like, no, like 3 hours. And they're like, okay, the only person who'll be there will be the janitor. And I'm like, great, that's no problem. So they got me in, and there I am, for 3 hours. I'm on the bridge, and I'm Shatner for a while, and I'm doing this. Then all of a sudden, now I'm working up a lather. I'm all like fire, and you're doing everything. It's just so
Hmm.
goofy, corny. And then I break into Jean-Luc Picard, and then I'm doing Picard on the set. Number one, and I'm going off, and I'm just like frothing. And all of a sudden, I hear from about 25 feet behind, "You must be Lieutenant Hawk." And I could feel my whole face just turn bright red. There I am
Mm.
thinking, how long has he been sitting there watching me make a fool of myself? And after that, Patrick and I became great friends on set, and he would just
Oh,
bust me all the time and belittle me, and him and Frakes and everyone. Spiner, they would all take their jabs at me, knowing that since I was the red shirt, they had to get their digs on me because I wasn't going to be around a whole lot longer. So they took their
yeah.
enjoyment in belittling me as much as they humanly could, and it was a great little fraternity that I was part of. I'm very, very
That's
proud of it.
that's great. And we love that you know what red shirt is. And close out with Tulsa King season two. But when this interview airs, it's going to be out there working with Stallone.
First of
Any good quick
all,
Stallone story?
Tulsa King is, now that it's Sylvester Stallone is one of the greatest dudes I've ever worked with. He is 78 years old, in better shape than all of us, just shredded. Takes care of himself. His family is always around. His wife is always there on set. He cares so much about the project. He knows everything. He helps write the scripts. He's so prepared. And he wants to win. And I love that kind of first generation mentality like that I have that we talked about before. If you give me $1, I'm going to give you $2 worth of effort. Sly's the exact same way. And the two of us going nose to nose, and I'm kind of fearless in my approach to characters. In real life, I'm a little more of a shy person, but when I get to play a character, I can be anything that I want. You can't judge me. You can't say anything. And so I really let loose. So there I was the first day on set, and you just the first episode just came out, and it's nice to be in part of basically the #1 show on television right now, which is just
Mm.
crazy to think about. And Reve was there the very first day, and I said, I got an idea that I'm going to do in this. She's like, okay. And she's sitting there in Video Village watching the monitor, and Stallone gets up in my face. Then I get up in his face, and then I start pretending I'm making fun of him as Stallone. Oh, you're some kind of tough guy. Oh, and you could see on Stallone's face, he's like, is he making fun of me? And you could see the veins were popping on his. He was getting so like irate that how dare you think that you can outdo me? This is my town. This is my world that I live in, and so on and so forth. And Reve's like, and I go back and she's like, you're gonna get fired. You can't do that. This is so. All of a sudden, around the corner comes Sylvester Stallone. And he just looks at me with this grin on his face, and he gives me this huge hug. And he goes, "Welcome to town. I love that you're going for it. Let's keep doing it. Let's make the best show we can
Wow.
possibly." And all year long, we just kind of pushed each other to be the best that we possibly could for our scenes. And it was just to do that with Sylvester Stallone. Are you kidding me? It was, one of
Yeah.
the highlights of my career to be opposite him for this last season on Tulsa King. And who knows where it's going to go next? But all I know is right now I'm having the greatest time being part of Tulsa King. Get Homestead coming out, the last rodeo that I created that I get to star opposite Reve and produce it with Reve and have it on Angel Studios and
And where
all
do
the
we go to find out a website? How do we find out more about this and socials?
We won't start doing, obviously we're talking about Homestead because that comes out in December.
Yeah.
But the last rodeo is just it's Rocky on a Bull, and that comes out in March through Angel Studios as well.
Okay.
So the press machine will start probably coming up in like a month or so with that one. But it's awesome. It's just John Avnet directed it, from Fried Green Tomatoes to Up Close and Personal to all the years in Justified, and one of my dearest friends that he directed it, and Michael T. Williamson, Bubba Gump played my best friend in the film, and
Wow.
Christopher McDonald, one of my best friends in real life, is in the film, and I get to do my first screen kiss ever in a movie, and it's with Reve, and gosh, I'm telling you, Joe, I don't know how I got here, but I'm here now in this position. It's humbling. I'm honored. I'm tickled that people are asking me to make movies alongside Reve that are entertaining, give glory to God, and all the things that I've ever wanted to do in my life. I now get to do it, and mostly in this whole Western, heartland of America type of feeling. I'm just floored by where I am right now, and so appreciative of everything that I have after all I've gone through and the hard times I went through years ago because I wouldn't do certain things. It was difficult, and giving up alcohol was one of the key reasons to where I am right now and why God has given me these gifts. And I don't want to let him down. I don't want to let audiences down. I want to keep making entertaining things alongside my wife that my kids will be proud of for forever. And that's where we're
Well,
at.
we appreciate the passion and energy to bring to all these roles. There's so much coming up, like you mentioned. Tulsa King's out there. Homestead premieres in theaters December 20th.
Yep, that's right.
So we're going to
Yeah,
look for that.
yeah.
Everything's going on. We're going to keep up with everything you got going on, Neal. Thank you so much. Continued success. And thank you so much for joining me on Comic Book Central and geeking out with me too. That was fun.
Comic Book Central's awesome. You guys rock. Joe, you're a stud. Thanks for the time. I really appreciate it, especially on your show.
Thank you so much.